Welcome everyone. July 3rd regular meeting of the It's dark in here. School Division LRSD Board of Trustees have called to order by myself, Chris Sigurdsson, Chair of the Board. LRSD land acknowledgement today will be read by Trustee Walker.
Trustee Sigurdsson. So I was born and work and live on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg, Inninewak, and Dakota peoples on the national homeland of the Red River Métis. I also acknowledge that Manitoba is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg and Dene peoples. I recognize and honor Shoal Lake 40 First Nation as the source of my clean drinking water, as well as the treaty territories that generate and provide the electricity powering my home, the school where I teach, in our school division. I respect the treaties made on this land and acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and present. I dedicate myself as a parent, a teacher, and a school trustee to authentic alliances with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and cooperation. I further commit myself to helping the children in my care understand the importance of reconciliation with the Indigenous community.
Thank you very much. Welcome and announcements. We'd like to welcome everyone participating in this hybrid meeting. Board meetings follow a formal structure where the work of the board is conducted in a public setting that gathers parents, students, staff, and other community members. As chair, it is my duty to preserve order and decorum at all times. All in-person and verified virtual attendees are reminded to observe procedural bylaws and to engage in a respectful and orderly manner. We'd like to remind everyone there's a 15-minute public question period at the end of the meeting where verified virtual participants and verified in-person participants can bring forward questions for clarification regarding items on today's agenda. If your questions are not related to tonight's agenda, please reach out to the division by emailing info@lrsd.net. Finally, please be aware we audio record meetings for accuracy and that a link to the live stream of the meeting will be made available on the division's website. Unless approved, other photographs, personal recordings, audio, visual, or otherwise are not. We also like to read our vision and mission statements before our meetings. Our vision is for all members of our community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners who contribute to a democratic and sustainable world. Our mission is to provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment where personal and collective learning are valued and each one of us reaches our full potential. Item 2 is the approval of agenda and minutes. Point 1 is the approval of the agenda for the regular board meeting June the 3rd, 2025. The motion is that the June 3rd agenda for the regular board meeting be approved. I need a mover and a seconder. Trustee Semignola, Trustee Turner. All those in favor? Aye. Motion's carried.
Mine's still loading.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Then we have the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of May the 20th, 2025. I have not been asked for any edits or changes, so the May 20th meetings will be accepted as distributed. We now move on to LRSD news. This week provided by Trustee Neb.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Lots to share today. So sometimes it's nice to enter a school and be reminded of some of the really cool things that you've seen there in the past. And that was the case for me last week at Minnetonka School. They have in their courtyard this really nice heart made out of stones, and it is filled with rocks that have been painted orange by the students, along with some affirming messages or just the students' names or some pictures. And it's situated in a spot that you have to look carefully to see and be lucky enough to see. But it was just a reminder of important conversations and students that are creating tangible reminders of the conversations that they are having and the work that we're doing collectively as a division to advance reconciliation, not just in our school division, but everywhere. Second thing I wish to share is the Row a Row initiative that's happening at École Saint-Germain. This initiative came about after Michael Redhead Champagne visited the school and read the Environment Club, his book called We Need Everyone. And the Environment Club afterwards had a conversation about what they could perhaps do along the lines of being the everyone that is needed And they decided to focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is zero hunger. And after a presentation from Winnipeg Harvest, the commitment to grow a row was established. Jennifer Engbrecht and school staff and students have been working hard to see this realized, and they are well supported by students at Arts and Tech Center Carpentry program who have made them some garden boxes. So I'm not entirely sure where the garden boxes are going to end up. Right now, they're by the Butterfly Garden on southwest corner, but what a great example of schools across the division reaching out and some young change makers looking to be the change that they want to see in the world. So that was kind of cool to see that. Number 3, happy coming up 10th birthday to Nicole George McDowell. There's some signage on their school sign, and this is being shared with community to invite everyone to participate on June the 12th. I can't believe it's been 10 years already, but certainly a chance for past families and students to revisit the school and see all the changes that have been, and just reflect on a big amount of work and energy that was part of the school division 10 years ago. So congratulations to Taylor Brewster from the Arts and Tech Center, who won gold at Skills Canada 2025 in aesthetics. Taylor is going to be competing at the 48th World Skills Competition in Shanghai, China next September. And I happened to be in the aesthetic salon at the time when they were live streaming the competition, and all the students that were doing manicures and pedicures, every now and a while you could see them looking at the big screen that was up. And unfortunately they weren't showing any of it at the time, but there was just this real buzz amongst the students supporting one of their peers who was competing on a national stage. So it was kind of cool to be there at that time. Last but not least, it's Pride Month, and that means a parade as the 2SL LGBTQ+ community and its allies come together. I love how the Pride Winnipeg website describes it, celebrating respect and inclusivity, freedom, strength, courage, authenticity, diversity. And so Sunday, in the scorching heat, thankfully it was not clear blue sky the way it was last year, although not fortunately because it was pretty easy due to the smoke, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people out walking, and that is the LRSD bus decorated with a banner and also some signs that kids have made. So Trustee Walker and I and Assistant Superintendents Cormack and Anderson repped the board and senior leadership team along with lots of LRSD staff and students and family members. So of course, the Dakota Pep Band was there, numbering 70 students strong, some who were hauling very large drums and tubas and euphoniums and all those other things. How they did it in that heat, I'm not sure, but props to them. And kicked it off with Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan, which every time they played it, along between that and YMCA, they had the crowd going every time Darren started the 1, 2, 3, 4. So just acknowledging Darcy and Benson and Robbie and Darren and Kay and the comms team and everybody else who had a hand in growing this event. It's pretty remarkable. That's my news.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of good things happening in our division. So we'll move then to board education. No, yes, board education. No. Where am I going? Senior leadership team. Rocketez. Take it away, Ron.
Thank you, Chair. I am pleased to bring news to the board from the J.H. Prince Collegiate and Cottage Family School, starting with a collaboration project, an art project done with the students from Bruns and Shamrock. J.H. Bruns ceramic students partnered with grade 1-2 students from Shamrock School for a unique collaborative art project. The younger students began by creating imaginative monster drawings and stories, each representing a defender of something that they care about. And using their designs, the J.H. Bruns students then sculpted the monsters into 3D ceramic creations. And once completed, each sculpture will be gifted back to its original young artist, along with a QR code linking to a digital gallery of the full collection for families and classmates to explore. The project was led by Lisa Humphreys at Bruns and Linda Hong and Brecken Wilson guiding the Shamrock students. So a really great project to bring our youngsters together, two communities, the young ones with the older ones at Bruns. So happy to see that. The next story I have is from Collège Jean Sauvé and Eco Forêt. At the Jean Sauvé, students continue to reach new heights while staying grounded in their values, living their motto, Les Racines de l'Avenir. Over the past 2 years, hundreds have helped plant more than 4,000 trees in Dakota Park. It's a tradition that continues this year. And the project is done in partnership with the City of Winnipeg's Naturalist Services, focusing on planting native species to promote biodiversity and build a healthier and more resilient habitat. The Honorable Mike Moyes, Minister of Environment and Climate Change, joined the students in planting efforts. The initiative has been met with strong support from students, staff, and the community, who are proud to see the CJS youth making a lasting impact on the environment and their neighborhood. So we applaud the efforts of CJS community for doing that. And finally, I have a story from École Julie Riel and the recent spring concert, which took place on Thursday, May 1st, was a wonderful celebration of students' musical and personal growth, confidence, and creativity. The event showcased their developing stage presence and their courage to perform proudly in front of an audience, which are skills that take time, practice, and support to build. Madame Judith Jardinez Lopez and the students had been preparing for this moment since September with encouragement from staff and families, and the performance was extremely well received. It was a joyful and memorable evening for everyone involved. So congratulations to the folks at the École Julie Riel spring concert. And that's the news.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wonderful news. And now I was just so excited I jumped the gun hearing about Numeracy and LRSD. This will be our board education. Assistant Superintendent Cadez will set us up for this.
Yeah, so I'd like to welcome members of our school and classroom support team. I'll let Nicholas Kelly, our divisional principal, and describe what's gonna be presented today, as well as the people participating. I will say that I had the privilege last week of going to Montreal with these three folks, along with Robert George from our school and classroom support team, psychologist. And where two of these members presented to a conference on numeracy led by some researchers that we're partnered with at Concordia University. And we also spoke about the work going on in the L'Oreal School Division on that trip in many ways, but highlighting especially that partnership that we have with research. And they're going to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that they've started today that we're all very, very proud of and that are quite innovative in work going on in this area across the country. So, Nicholas.
Awesome. Thanks for having us here tonight to talk about numeracy as part of your board education. It's been a significant focus this year in L'Oreal. There's been a lot happening, but we're going to pick sort of 3 key initiatives to share tonight. So first, Jared Suderman will share about EMA at school. So that's our division-wide numeracy screener designed to help identify students who may need extra support early on. Next, Kristen Artebees will introduce the NIC5, our play-based research-backed toolkit that empowers teachers to build foundational numeracy skills in kindergarten. That professional learning took place in this very room with the kindergarten teachers this year and was a highlight by all accounts from the kindergarten teachers. And then finally, I'll close out our time together sharing about the co-constructed professional learning experience that engaged over 60 educators, including administrators, student services, specialists, classroom teachers, to deepen our understanding and improve numeracy instruction. Our goal is to provide a snapshot of how these initiatives support student success in numeracy. And with that, we'll pass it over to Jared.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. One of the exciting developments in numeracy and LRSD is our EMA at school, which is a division-wide numeracy screener for kindergarten to grade 4 students that helps us identify students who may need early support in foundational math skills. The experience is guided by Nano, the cute little wolf that you see on the screen there. Students love hearing Nano guide them through the activities, encouraging them all along the way. While the students are having fun, the tool is collecting a robust data set on their numeracy understanding that informs our work. The EMA at school was developed in Canada by a research team at Carleton University, and just this past year was transferred into a digital format by Veretta, which is a Toronto-based company. It's fully bilingual, it's evidence-based, and significantly reduces the time and the human resources that are needed for teachers to gather high-quality data. So why do we invest in a division-wide math screener like the EMA at school? First of all, research shows consistently that early math achievement is one of the strongest predictors of long-term academic success. By identifying students who may need early support in their education, the screener helps teachers provide targeted and timely interventions before those gaps widen and become increasingly difficult as numeracy learning becomes increasingly complex. And just as importantly, the EMA at school supports equity. It allows us to see and respond to students' needs in every single classroom, not just where they're most visible. This ensures all learners have the opportunity to build a strong foundation in numeracy. And then on the next slide, you're going to see a very short video that gives a little bit of a glimpse into what the assessment looks like at the very beginning for a grade 3 student. Sounding.
Sound if we signed in Zoom.
The number line that ranges from 0.
Are we ready?
You will do 8 activities. Press next to continue. You are now in activity 1. The example shows a number line that ranges from 0 to 10. The question is asking where the number 1 is on the number line. To show where the number 1 is, click on the number line to place a blue line. If you need to change your answer, you can click on the number line again. The blue line now shows where 1 is on the number line. You will do 8 activities. Press next to continue.
That's the same video one. Yep.
You are now in
That was it.
activity 1.
So next, we want to highlight the NIC 5 toolkit. Stands for Numeracy in Kindergarten kit for 5-year-olds. And it's a play-based, research-backed resource designed to help our kindergarten teachers develop strong foundational numeracy skills in their students. Importantly, that NIC 5 kit supports both conceptual understanding and fluency. It gives students multiple entry points into math while providing our teachers with the tools to observe, guide, and assess learning through playful, intentional experiences. It's not just a resource, it's a shift in how we think about early math learning. The next slide is a video that we took that will showcase Kelsey Gregoire, the kindergarten teacher at Hastings School, as she engages with a student in a NIC 5 activity.
Hey, my friend. Let's start with our magic number game, okay? I'm gonna show you some cards. I'm gonna mix them up. And you're gonna tell me what number it is without counting them. You think you can do this? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready?
Okay. 6.
Good for you.
0.
Good job. This one's a tricky one. Ready?
5. 3. 1. 4.
Good job. Let's try some of our 5 frames, okay? So same thing. They're gonna show some numbers and a 10 frame, and you'll tell me what number it is, okay?
Okay. 3. 1.
How did you know that?
0.
Okay, tricky one, ready?
5. 4.
Good correction. Okay, now another tricky one.
I think 5.
Yes, you got it. Good for you, my friend. Okay, now what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna give you a pile of our NIPs. And can you count those for me?
I can do 20.
Oh, let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23.
Good job. Let's try that again together, okay? I'm gonna take a
I
couple.
can do it to 100.
100, can you? Okay, I'm gonna take a few away. Let's try that again. Can you do that again for me?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, no, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
19. So how many nicks do we have?
19.
Good for you. Can you write the number 19 for me? Ooh. Now, what number comes right before 19? Right before.
18.
Good for you, yeah. 18. Now, what number comes right after 19?
20.
20. Good. So how many nicks did we have here?
19.
Good remembering. Now, if I were to add one more, how many would I have now?
20.
20. You got it. Good job, my friend. I'm so proud of you.
The training that came with that kit was 2 full days of professional learning to deeply understand how to use that toolkit directly from the creator of it, which is Julie Wood, a pedagogical consultant in elementary mathematics from the Leslie School Board in Montreal. This learning was grounded in evidence-based practices and empowered educators to teach early numeracy in meaningful, developmentally appropriate ways, connecting play, observation, and some explicit teaching. The feedback from our teachers was overwhelmingly positive, as you can see in the excerpts taken from their surveys that are up on the screen right now. Many shared that the training not only enhanced their confidence in teaching early math, but also deepened their understanding of how young children develop foundational numeracy skills.
Before you go on to the next part, one part I want to add, if you were watching the video and she was showing those cards, you may be wondering, well, big deal, they're looking at cards, what's that all about? They're cards with 0 to 10 dots on them. And this whole idea of the EMA and the screening that we're doing and the skills that we're developing and this foundational numeracy skills in kindergarten is to develop what we call numeracy fluency. So much like when you have literacy and you're looking at words and kids that can read without being static when they're reading, trying to decode every single word, numeracy has the same skill development that's required. And what we know is that the more fluent these kids are with those numeracy skills, the more easily they can access those skills when they need them to do more advanced math as they get older. And so when we develop those fluency skills early on, we can have much more success moving forward. So a kid that can recognize that 10 dots on a page is a 10 really quickly is a really big advantage for that student. And so we work on what they call subitizing numbers. And it's a very important skill to develop. So that's one of the things that's in that NIC 5. And it's also what the EMA is measuring. It's measuring numeracy fluency. It's not meant to be a summative assessment where we say how the kid is progressing in terms of acquiring the curriculum. It's about measuring the risk of the student for future challenges later on in learning. And so we're looking at how fluent they are in accessing their mathematical skills. Sorry, go ahead.
Apologize. How proud was that little kindergarten kid with her numbers? Fantastic. The final highlight is the co-constructed professional learning developed by this collaborative team from L'Oreal. So Ron Cadez, Jared and Kristen, and Robert George, who works as a school psychologist, but is also on the school and classroom support team, have put together this work. It's deeply supported by the 3 university faculty members. It was really interesting in Montreal for me to see that connection. I met the professors when they came and worked with teachers here, but to see them in Montreal and to see, I think a room full of researchers and grad students and people that work in public education working together. And I was a little nervous about 2 full days of math with really passionate people about math, but it's a small enough conference that by the time the 2 days is over, you can see people gravitating to Ron and to Jared and to Kristen and to Rob and wanting to know more about what's happening in L'Oreal. The professors that came obviously were coined that by our teachers in the division. They traveled to Louis Riel to help bridge the gap between research and classroom practice. It was also very interesting there to hear it from the researcher's perspective. I spent the second day just thinking back on all the times as a principal or a vice principal, I've welcomed university folks into a school to do what they do without giving a whole lot of thought about the connection and the big picture of all of this. Evidence. Yeah, and I'm gonna just, in closing with this connection, the conference ended with a panel. Our Assistant Superintendent Ron Cadez was on that panel and I think just did a wonderful job of linking the evidence-based research to the screening that we're doing, instruction and the intervention model that we're implementing in LRSD. Super proud to be alongside this team doing the work in the division. If I go to the next slide, I really don't think I have to read a whole lot because Ron just hit all the fluency notes. Good. I think we just saw the evidence from Kelsey's student in grade 5. I think I'm just gonna jump to the end. The co-constructed professional learning series, it included a fluency focused learning progression that supported teachers in deepening understanding. So this was wave 1 this year. Kristen and Jared worked very closely with teachers from Niagara Place School, Windsor School, St. George School, Nicole George McDowell, and Sauve. Those schools all selected certain teachers to come be part of wave 1. And then in addition to that, Lavallee and Hastings had their entire staff working on numeracy with both Jared and Kristen. Next year, the stage is set for wave 2, where Nordale, Darwin, Nicole, Henri Bergeron, and Nicole Howden will all be part of wave 2. And the biggest difference from wave 1 to wave 2 is that Jared and Kristen are taking that work on where they're gonna have all staff members a part of it. So that's 5 half days on PD days next year. They've already started that work in May. So they'll continue to work with the professors from Carleton and Queens and from the U of W, and we'll continue to take the data that we get from the EMA. The kindergarten teachers that did not win the NIC 5 lottery, which means they just were too slow to sign up, are really hoping that Julie will be back from Montreal because that PD was super powerful, and we'll continue our work in numeracy and Louis Riel. Anyone have any questions for Ron, Jared, Kristen, and myself?
Cindy, Trustee Turner?
It's kind of a two-parter. So this just started, right? This is the first school year that this has started, or is this something that's been going on for a few years?
So we have piloted the EMA now for 3 years. Prior to this year, it being rolled out in a digital format. Before that, it was a paper and pencil screener. The NIC 5, we have a group of us went to Montreal last November, so I guess a year and a half ago, to take a look at that for the first time. So now it's being rolled out for about a year and a half. And as Nicholas alluded to, we just finished up wave 1 of our new project, and we'll be continuing wave 2 for next year.
And second part?
Sure, yeah, please.
When do you expect to have all of the grade schools on the program?
Like when we've hit all of them? We just continue to offer it and folks will sign up. I think the big difference between wave 1 and wave 2 is next year, it's every teacher involved. So we are bringing them together all together at the same time, all 4 schools on those 5 half days. This year when Jared and Kristen were working with Lavallee and Hastings, there was a certain amount of time that they dedicated to it. And then in May, during one of their last PD days that wasn't scheduled for numeracy, the administrators in those schools still chose to bring the 2 schools together and continue to work on the interventions. So target date would be as soon as we can get through them all, but we've got 2 people doing the work off the school and classroom support team schools, and it's there's a lot of work involved in learning sprints, and you have to have the schools that are also willing to commit. Like 5 half days committed to numeracy is a very clear message in those schools that we're focusing on numeracy.
Thank you.
Trustee Pump?
Yeah, I was sort of similar to, thank you for that presentation, that's excellent, and what a great program. Sort of similar to Cindy, my question is what, schools are voluntary and they're signing up, or is there any schools for, and maybe this might be a question for Ron, are there any schools that based on metrics overall across the division would be like encouraged to sign up, or
I don't think we've taken that approach. I think we've taken the folks that are feeling ready for this. We also have other initiatives on the go. Literacy is a big push as well, and a lot of schools are focused heavily on that. So we have to make sure that we're weighing the needs within the school, understanding that everybody's going through the screening process. They're being provided access to resources to do the intervention work and to enhance their learning as well. But if you wanna go into a deeper dive with the team, 5 half days, the in-house supports that are provided that go along with part of that group, that's a strong commitment, and when they're ready, we're ready to take them.
That's great. And then my second question, and this might be slightly beyond the core scope of this, but more applied to math instruction generally. Is there any consideration for how in the immersion environment that some of the language comprehension of terminology might impact the results of some of the early screening? And I'd be curious to learn about how that is adapted for. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's what cats,
Yeah.
but I might, know the numbers.
So it was actually interesting because that conversation actually popped up with our last round of screening. And so we actually had a really comprehensive meeting directly with the researchers, which is one of the advantages of being a partner in this work, is we have direct access to the researchers. And so we set up a Zoom call with them and spent a few hours on an afternoon diving into the impact that language has on our earliest learners. And it was kind of interesting because they were not surprised by the difficulty that our French immersion students experience at the youngest ages, with difficulty with the counting sequence, because the counting sequence doesn't follow the same patterns that it does in English. And so that actually translates to just a little bit more difficulty at the
60 to 70,
Yeah.
80 to 90,
Yeah.
right?
And then what they told us is that for about K1 and 2, we would see that difficulty. And then at about halfway through grade 2 to grade 3 is where the intersect, and that's where there's no longer that disparity between languages.
So it's possible that there would be a delay in identification in immersion environment due to the learning the new language in conjunction with math concepts.
So I will respond to that one. The test is set up to measure risk. It's not meant to measure proficiency. So the risk factors that have been defined here is the bottom quartile of score. So the lowest 25% of the scores within the division are how we are currently identifying the risk.
Right.
And so what we've done is we've taken all of the immersion students and made that one group. And so the immersion scores are based on the scores within.
Compared against each other.
And so that is a reasonable way for us to identify risk. It's what we do for literacy as well, when it comes to assessing in French. We have no norms established. That said, this is a test that's ongoing in Alberta across the entire province. It's a tool that's being used there quite extensively. And we do expect that there will be some comparable norms for us to work from there. Plus, the researchers are developing norms for LRSD. So we will have norms for French immersion as well as for English that will be relatively, we feel, reliable in the long term. In the short term, that bottom 25%, there's an immersion score and there's an English score. So they don't have to be the same, but the risk will absolutely still be identified.
Yeah. Thank you. That was great. And congratulations.
Trustee Nemeth?
I just have a question about the for students that may be in that lower quartile where there is risk identified, how is that mitigated in subsequent years? Like how is that, maybe it's the potential for risk in subsequent grades, how is that removed or that risk I don't say eliminated, but like what is the process?
Are you asking what do we do once we've identified there's a potential risk?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could have just said that. Thanks, Kristen.
So I know what you're trying to get at. I know that's been a big understanding for our teachers, is now that I've seen those kids at risk, but in my gut, I know that student is actually at risk. It's understanding that it's a piece of information and that you hold a lot of other pieces as well. So if there's a list of students that are identified as at risk, it essentially, instead of looking at 24 students, you're now looking at maybe 5 in your class. And you want to dig a bit deeper into understanding why those are identified as at risk. And so it really just helps you hone in on a small group of students to better understand what it is that's going on. And maybe you have some background in understanding why those results are a certain way. Maybe you were kind of doing a walk around and you noticed that kid really wasn't having a great day. And so potentially that's something to think about. But with those that are identified at risk, we do have an intervention created by Tracy Anthony. in Grand Prairie. Also part of this AIM collective, that is how we got into all of the research and the NIC-5 and the EMA, is through that collective. And so she developed an intervention tool and gave it to us. And we've provided that to schools as a way of acting on what that EMA is telling them.
I think picking up on Ron's point about when schools are ready, like this extra PD day in May that Lavallee and Hastings brought their staff together on, that was all geared around the intervention piece. So when the ask came in to Jared and Kristen, it came with also, we need to prepare all the materials. So, they sent some staff, we've sent some staff. Day one would have been just pulling all of the hands-on stuff, but the purpose of that day was alongside the educational assistants that work in the too. These are the interventions that you now can use with that kid that is in that bottom quartile. But I just think the buy-in in 1 year to start this project, to be asking for the additional day. I know we get to take that into next year with the 4 schools that are gonna be all in. We'll get to that intervention piece, I think around the same time. And it's really nice to be able to draw back on Lavallee and Hastings and say, how's that working? You put the time in, you built the materials, you've put the schedule in, you've got the common numeracy block, you have the kids that are in that lowest quartile. What does it look like now after interventions in place? And then that part, we should be able to, that applies in every school, but not every school is there in their numeracy journey.
And as well, just some of, just to give you a little bit of an idea on what those intervention activities might look like, you actually saw kind of an example of Kelsey doing a lot of them. The counting on, when she added one more NIC, from 19 to 20, the numbers before and after, it can be small group, it can be 1-to-1. The nice thing about aligning ourselves to researchers is the screener itself is what we want to teach students. And so teaching to this test is exactly what we want to do. And so we mimic, the number line that the grade 3 assessment starts off with. So we take a look and we take a look at magnitude and the order of numbers and looking at number line as an intervention.
Okay, thank you.
The screening tool also allows us to be very targeted in terms of where we want to address the needs. So like all the screening tools that we use for math and for literacy, it's just a starting point. So Kristen was right in saying the observations that we make are really key. We need to understand why we're seeing that result and see if we agree with it. But once we come to an agreement about what the result is and where we've identified an area of need, this allows us to be very targeted in our approach. So the support can be quite intensive and much more impactful that way. It's not just a broad scope of numeracy, it's a very focused area of it that's a skill development. To develop, again, that fluency, that's really where we're aiming for.
Norda?
So I think that I heard you say, Nicholas, that there was EAs that worked alongside in the PD. So like that NIC-5, is that something that educational assistants can be trained to use for enrichment perhaps in kindergarten while the teacher works with the kids who might need more support?
The NIC-5 so far has only been offered to classroom teachers and some services, just because we want that classroom teacher to have that knowledge to not only do one-on-one with students, but also how can I use it? Because I've seen Kelsey use it whole class, tier 1.
Right.
And we want teachers to have that knowledge so that they can act on it, not only in those small groups, but also the whole class. So for now, that's who we've been focusing the training on. And I think that with guidance, the teacher could help the EA, if they have one, to be able to pull certain activities and guide them through that. Especially if they have an EA that is attached to their classroom or attached to a student.
The NIC-5 is really a tool intended for tier 1 as an initial base to give people a common understanding to deliver their numeracy programming. It's not a program per se, it's just a way of envisioning the programming that you're going to provide to the students with concrete tools attached to it. And it's offered in both languages. We have a French kit as well as an English.
What else? Well, I want to thank you very much for the very informative program and presentation. I personally really like the concept of fluency in math and parallels with reading and writing. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's also something that would give more confidence to students who would not normally be inclined towards math and maybe turn off early. This would be a way of bringing them in and giving them confidence for start on more complicated concepts. So even in my mind, I can appreciate that. So I certainly think that's wonderful. My one question is about the three professors and the universities. How involved are they? And are the universities as well as the professors, individual professors? And are they using this for some type of research that will perhaps be published someday?
Yeah, so it's actually, it's interesting because those three universities Venn diagram in different ways with our project. The University of Winnipeg has helped out with certain aspects. Queens and Carleton have helped out with other aspects. Queens has been mostly focused, Dr. Sandy Humans has been focused on our co-constructed professional development and largely is looking at researching its effectiveness and its efficacy. So they are going to be publishing a paper within the next year, I believe, on the efficacy of our PD model. Carleton has been Dr. Heather Douglas and Joanne Lefebvre were the developers of the EMA at school. And so they have really been instrumental in helping us understand how to administer the EMA, how to the data analysis of it, as well as what to do with the results.
And then a portion of our PDs, when we brought the schools together, they developed progressions for, so a part of our content that we were delivering was research backed. And a few times they were able to come in and deliver that themselves. And other times it was Zoom calls to give us, Jared and myself, the knowledge to be able to share that information. So we did one on place value, we did one on fractions, and we did one on fluency, and then
Patterns to algebra.
One neat part is when they're doing the work at the board office, like they also go out into the schools. So I know trying to make small talk with Heather Douglas the first time I met her.
Yeah.
Her PhD is in fractions.
Yeah.
Sort of the end of our conversation on that part. But Heather presents, she's learning alongside her teachers. And when she shows up in a classroom in the afternoon, there's not that worry of the professors are in my classroom judging me what I'm doing. There's far more of a partnership. Similar to the Veretta people, when you look and you see Ron speaking to someone in Montreal, it's the president of that company. Yeah. And they've got a vested interest in all the work we're doing because we're a good partner.
Good.
The professors aren't professors of education, they're professors of cognitive science for the most part.
Really?
And psychology, yes.
I thought they'd be professors of mathematics. They're not professors of mathematics?
They're not professors in the faculty of education, that's what I would say.
Okay.
Their domain is cognitive science.
Interesting. Good, well, certainly, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and enlightening us. Gift. And we now have a lot of information under finance and audit. And I will turn that over to Secretary Treasurer Rednicki. The first one is our shared services agreement, which is something that we do every year.
Thank you very much. Every year we enter into shared service agreements with private schools in our catchment area. And so these shared services range from clinical services, shared services, as well as practical arts. And so for next year, we have come to agreements with Beautiful Savior Lutheran School, Christ the King School, Holy Cross School, Springs Christian Academy, St. Boniface Diocesan High School, as well as St. Emile Catholic School. And just for public information, this comes at no cost to the division, so we get fully refunded for these services that we provide. So it's a cost sharing agreement.
Questions on this before I call the the motion. Is this any change from last year? Any different schools that moved in or out of the? No, it's the same?
No, same schools. There was one school on the list, and I'll have to check which one. We've extended an additional section for practical arts at Nelson Mac Collegiate.
Okay, wonderful. So the motion is that the Louisville School Division enter into a shared service agreements for the services for the following independent schools for the 2025-2026 school year. Beautiful Savior Lutheran School, Clinical Services and Practical Arts Services, Christ the King School, Clinical Services and Practical Arts Services, Holy Cross School, Clinical Services and Practical Arts Services, Springs Christian Academy, Clinical Services, St. Boniface Diocesan High School, Clinical Services and Practical Arts Services, and St. Emilio Catholic School, Clinical Services and Practical Arts Services. We can move right a seconder for this, please. Trustee Semignola, Trustee Kolachuk. Questions or comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Looks like that motion is carried. Very good, thank you. Now we move on to tenders over $100,000. Secretary Treasurer will share a report regarding these tenders and answer any more questions.
Yeah, so this is an annual report I provide to the board regarding any tenders that we enter into over $100,000. And so this year we entered into 4 tenders that were over $100,000, and this includes contract services with Antex, who helped support us with the renovations at Island Lake Community School. Powerland Computers helped with our network equipment. Xerox Canada, that's all our photocopiers and printers for the division, as well as Living Prairie Daycare. They're going to be our new service provider at the new school, École Sage Creek, Bonavista. Vista. So that's the 4 tenders for this year.
Questions or comments on any of these 4 tenders? None, thank you very much. Move on then to the 5-year capital plan for 2025-26, 2030, 2031. We have a number of initiatives that we are seeking funding for. Again, I'll turn it over to Secretary Treasurer Nikki to provide an overview.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so this so once a year we provide a document that's a 5-year capital plan for the division. And this 5-year capital plan outlines priorities that we've identified. And so this document that we provide to the province of Manitoba covers any requests for new schools, additions and renovations, accessibility, repairs and maintenance for our buildings, roofing, mechanical systems, as well as childcare spaces. So some of the larger requests that we've submitted to the province is we've requested for 5 new schools in the division over the next 5 years. This includes a new school for École Varennes. That is a replacement of the current building, which is well over its prime. We're requesting a new elementary school in Precinct J. This is an area that's starting to be developed just north of Sage Creek School along Fermor. We've requested a campus-style elementary and high school in Precinct K. This is a new development that'll be starting in the next few years just south of Bonavista, as well as a new elementary school in Water Urban Village. And so those are kind of the large ticket items when it comes to provincial requests. Other requests include our additions and renovations to J.H. Bruns Collegiate, additions and renovations. Our request for building improvements at 296 Spears Road and 1015 Cottonwood Road, as well as an addition and renovation for Marion School and a Shamrock School wall replacement. And so those are kind of the big budget requests that we've submitted to the province for this year.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Sorry, one other thing is we'll be providing a document on our website that outlines all the requests that we've made in the 5-year plan.
Very good, thank you. Yes, Trustee Seminole.
And these are for the new schools specifically, these are just proposal that would like a school, there's no cost associated with any of them, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. We always have to keep an eye on what think ahead, as they say. Move on then to staffing. This one is a notice of resignation. Acting Superintendent Anderson will share an update.
Yes, very good. Bringing news this evening that we have received notice of Greg Kiesman's intention to resign from the school division at the end of the school year. Greg, of course, is the vice principal at Louis Riel Arts and Technology Center and is leaving the division for an opportunity in a similar area with the education.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Say we accept it reluctantly, except for the fact that he's going to be in a position where he'll be able to assist us.
Indeed.
And everyone in the province, all students in the province, so thank you very much. Next is 6.2 is the appointment of principal. Again, Acting Superintendent Anderson will provide context for the recommendation.
Yes, the principalship at Lavallee School became open last meeting when the board appointed Nicole Major as divisional principal beginning next year. The position has been posted and applicants interviewed. We are bringing forward this evening the name of Adam Dobransky as incoming principal at Lavallee with the board's endorsement. Adam is currently the vice principal at Victor Wyatt School.
So the motion is that Adam Dobransky be appointed as principal at Lavallee School effective August 1st, 2025. Mover and a seconder, Trustee Turner, Trustee Nemeth. Questions or comments? I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Motion is passed. Congratulations to Adam. Next, we move on to 6.3, appointment of vice principals. Again, Acting Superintendent Anderson will provide context for this recommendation and the proposed board motions.
Yes, we currently have 2 vice principalships that are open in the division. The first is at Niagara Place School, which of course relates to the board appointing Laura Mitchell as principal of Niagara Place at last meeting. We have, again, for vice principal positions, conducted interviews and are bringing forward the name of Jared Suderman, who you may recognize from a certain numeracy presentation earlier this week.
Who's he? I've never heard of that
Yes, as vice principal of Niagara Place School. And the second position is, of course, with Greg Kiesman's departure from Louis Riel Arts and Tech, the vice principalship at that school. And we're bringing forward the name of Andrea Delisle, who is a student services teacher at Louis Riel Arts and Tech and has been for many years. So we are bringing those 2 names forward for your consideration.
Yeah, and we can vote on those, the same motion. So the motion would be that Jared Suderman be appointed as vice principal at Niagara Place effective August 1st, 2025, and that Andrea Delisle be appointed as vice principal at Louis Riel Arts and Technology Center effective August 1st, 2025. Again, I need a mover and a seconder for these. Trustee Kolachuk, Trustee Semignola.
Just a question.
Yes, certainly.
We have 2 appointments in one motion, and the previous motion, we have, like, I just need clarification on combining 2 appointments in one motion. Is it because they're vice principals or?
Yeah, principal and then 2 vice principals.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Now, who's going to do the math job?
You'll be in good hands.
Okay. And next, congratulations again to Jared and Andrew. The personnel update, secondment of a clinical supervisor, Assistant Superintendent Gunther will provide us some context to that, please.
Sure. So as part of our past practice, we have traditionally seconded a clinician into each of our clinical supervisor roles for a 3-year term. So Amber Zederick has been serving one of these roles in this capacity, and we're recommending her.
Thank you. So the motion will be that the board approve the secondment of Amber Zederick as Supervisor of Student and Family Services for a 3-year term as per the collective agreement effective August 1st, 2025. Again, I need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Trustee Turner, Trustee Walker, questions or comments on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Looks like the motion is carried again. Congratulations to Amber. It's all good? Having trouble voting?
No,
We're all good.
yeah, this is a mistake. I said no, but it's
Oh,
carried.
okay.
I
Very good.
raised my hand and then, okay, please. It's a yes, it was a definite yes.
Okay, well.
I'm staying out of it. So now we go to the share information to the board. The LRSD Pride Parade, of course, took place on Sunday. I was going to give highlights. I've been there. Unfortunately, I spent a good part of last week doing my other job, and I was up north in the middle of the forest fire smoke and was affected very badly and didn't have the health or energy to march. But I know 2 of our members were there. I'll pass it over to our vice chair to provide some highlights.
Thank you, Chair. I was really proud to get to walk with the division this year. I had been out last year walking with my kids, and this year was just so nice to see so many students, staff, parents, senior leaders. Trustee Nemeth was walked with me, and our band, the 70 students, they were just spectacular. They really did get the crowd going. It was a lot of fun walking behind them because there was a lot of excitement, and just and Trustee Nemeth had told me that our division's been a longstanding member of the Pride community, coming out to the parades for a long time. So just really proud to be part of a division that's so aggressive in supporting the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. Thanks so much.
And I know Trustee Nemeth, you've already mentioned it in your good news, but if you have anything else to add, you're certainly welcome.
No, but props to Robbie Scott. He started it off when the Pride Parade's the very first Pride Parade, Robbie Scott at Dakota Collegiate. And he's a force, and he's also a huge ally, and is held in very high regard because of that. And so he deserves special recognition. And there's a nice little spotlight story, a couple pictures on it too on the website. So yeah, it was a
Yes, I certainly second that. It's a wonderful event and I'm very proud. Last year especially was very hot, but a lot of fun. The band was amazing. Just the very proud to be part of LRSD and our participation in our just the joyousness and the fun that the students and the staff have at that event is quite remarkable. We all have a lot to be proud of. So thank you very much. Next, we move on to senior leadership team information to the board. Capital projects update, again to Secretary Treasurer Radnicki.
Very much. Just one quick update, and that's our new school, called Sage Creek Buena Vista. We are a month away from basically substantial completion, which is very exciting. It's this project has gone on schedule to a T, and I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for everyone on site who's been involved in the project. It's truly amazing the feat that people have done to make this a reality for our community. And so with that, there's still a flurry of activity to on the detail side of things on the inside. So some of the bigger things that we're doing is that they're finishing the gym flooring and they're painting the floor lines. In the gymnasium, they're starting to work on the outside basketball court. They're gonna do the asphalting this week. And basically, they're gonna finish all the detail work inside this month, and then landscaping will continue throughout the summer. But we will have, we'll have access to the building to start filling it with all the stuff and things that are needed to help our children learn and grow. And so that'll happen in July. So proud to report that everything's going well.
Very good, thank you. Any questions or comments on that report? Not, we'll move on to school choice process. Assistant Superintendent Anderson will share a slide deck and give an overview of this process.
Very good. Yep, thank you very much. So the schools of choice process is regulated by the provincial government, and we are following through the annual steps. So wanted to share where we're at now that we're at the beginning of June. Applications were due for May the 15th. And since that time, our principals have met, consider applications, make recommendations to the senior leadership team who have reviewed them. And as of the week of May 25th, principals have been contacting families to let them know the result of their application. And if you would just reference the current slide here, the factors that we base acceptance on are determined by the provincial process. The biggest factor is availability of space and resources. And where our numbers are getting high, sometimes we are concerned that come fall, we'll have had more students move in. We're not sure, maybe we'll have some move away. So if we're in a situation like that, we waitlist families and let them know that we will be reassessing their applications in June and August in function of current enrollment numbers. And in some cases, we know clearly that we're well beyond the ability to accommodate and inform families straight out that their application is not approved. The province requires school divisions to first consider students who reside in catchment, followed by those who are from within the division, and finally students who reside in other Manitoba school divisions. So there's a order that schools need to follow, and certainly where all other factors are the same, those who apply first are considered before those who apply later in the process. The province outlines in more detail on their website other criteria. I won't go through them in detail here, but for you to know, some great reading in the Manitoba Schools Administrator's Handbook in the Schools of Choice section. And just wanting to share in terms of next steps that I had mentioned previously about the reassessment that principals and vice principals will be doing at the end of June and the end of August to inform families if their waitlisted applications can be approved. And while May 15th is the technical deadline for applications, we do continue to receive them as family circumstances change. So that will be an ongoing process between now and school startup.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments regarding the school of choice process? Thank you. Move on then to 8.3 is the naming of the new French immersion school in Sage Creek, Buena Vista. To Corey Kapelik, our Director of School and Classroom Supports, give us context.
Thank you. The correspondence was sent out on Friday, May 23rd to community outlining that through public consultation process, there was strong support for the school to be named after the late Honorable Justice and Senator Marie Sinclair, a highly respected leader and advocate for truth, reconciliation and education in Canada. Through Negan Sinclair, Christian and I have been able to communicate through him and understanding that the families, the traditions and Anishinaabe traditions as it relates to death and grief require us to avoid using his name for the period of 1 year as he's traveling to the west and as he's going through his journey into the spirit world, and saying his name will call him back, especially his Anishinaabe name or his spirit name. During this period, we're gonna approach his remembrance with care alongside honoring the family's own grief to ease his transition and support healing. So after November 5th, this year, 2025, we will be able to go ahead with the name and go ahead with finishing that process. But that's not to say that things have not been continuing in the planning for the school. Principal Johnson just indicated to me that they are currently looking still at connecting a mascot and some school themes to the school. And in November 5th, we will be kind of opening it up in a good way under the guidance of our Council of Grandmothers and Grandfathers, with Grandmother Chickadee working with the family to ensure that we're doing things in a way that's respectful to them, as well as working, a big name carries big responsibility, and working with the staff and students at that school to really understand what that name means and our commitment as a school and as a school division on reconciliation and honoring the work that was started for us.
Questions or comments? Can't think of a better individual to honor in this way, and thank Superintendent Michalik for the delicate and tactful and thoughtful way that this has been handled in negotiations with the family, and the respect shown for their cultural traditions. Very much appreciated by the board.
Sorry.
Yes.
So between September when the school opens and November 5th, what kind of signage can the community expect at the school?
I think the signage is waiting until November 5th. So we have proceeded with the architecture group in the signage. So it's going to be referred to as Equal Sage Creek Bonavista for now. And then November 5th, then everything will come together then.
Failed. Any other questions on this? Yes, good. Thank you. Turn again then to, again with Corey Kapelik to Learning with the Land highlights.
Yes, on May 22nd, I like to tell everybody that my only responsibility was the weather. It was 20 degrees, it was beautiful, it was sunny. It was at the Forks, and that's very fitting that a big event like this Forks, which has been, according to our elders, a gathering place since time immemorial. And that was the perfect backdrop for a day rooted in learning, sustainability, and cultural connection. And it was not a normal school day. It was a living classroom inspired by Strategic Action 4.5 of the multi-year strategic plan. This initiative calls for involving the whole school in learning and teaching about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or UNDRIP, with a strong emphasis on Indigenous worldviews and land-based learning. Nearly 780 students and staff came together with community partners for an immersive workshops exploring cultural identity, environmental stewardship and global citizenship, guided by elders and knowledge keepers. Participants engaged in hands-on activities such as soapstone carving, beadwork, storytelling, and language revitalization. At midday, we had powwow dancers from Dakota Collegiate, as well as hoop dancers and drummers from Lavallee School share their gifts. And in the afternoon, students explored the Forks further and visited the Upstander Showcase at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, where student-created exhibits highlighted themes of justice and change. As the day concluded, gratitude filled the air, a heartfelt acknowledgement of the students, staff, volunteers, elders, and community partners who made Learning with the Land an unforgettable experience, and the first annual Learning from the Land. They say it takes a village, and this event was no exception. A huge shout out to Sean Oliver, Roy Norris, and the planning team. That included representations from every school in LRSD who came together for 3 evenings ahead of this event, and everybody really shouldered the work that it took to have this come together. Learning with the Land, it was more than just another school day. It was a powerful step forward in honoring Indigenous perspectives and fostering a shared commitment to sustainability.
Thank you. Special event, very special event. Any questions or comments regarding this event that took place? Thank you. Then we move on to a leadership team meeting, which took place May 26, 2025. I'll turn over to Acting Superintendent Anderson. Your highlights.
Yes, thank you. So our monthly meetings with school leaders are designed to learn together and to work toward attaining the goals of our multi-year strategic plan. Our meeting on May 26th, you can see the afternoon agenda before you there. I'll just comment a bit. The first item, workplace wellness, works towards multi-year strategic plan action 1.2. And we had with us Rosa Gray, who works with EdCan and Wellness at Work, Well at Work, to support us in reviewing data from the Guarding Minds survey and ensuring implementation of what we can learn from that survey. So discussed with principals was the formation of a divisional committee, launch of a leadership pilot, exploring the data in greater depth from the Guarding Minds survey, and collecting feedback from our leaders. Other topics related were the attendance support program, as well as avoiding bias in hiring and safe work procedures related to hot weather. The next item that you can see, before lunch and after school time BLAST program. BLAST is an acronym given to our vision to see enhanced access to before and after school programming in the division. So we know that currently from the surveys that we have done of our community, that there are a significant number of families who require care that are unable to access it currently. We currently, as a division, offer lunch supervision in all of our schools. That's a universal program. And as a North Star final objective, it would be to offer a universal access to before and after school programming so that families can access a safe place for their children to be before and after school while they are tending to work or other duties. What I do want to be clear about is we offer this program currently in only a limited number of schools at Niagara Place, Archwood, École Sage Creek School, and at École Van Bellingham. We will be extending it to École Sage Creek Buena Vista this fall. We would like to grow it from there to other schools and grow the programs with those particular buildings as well. Something that bears underlining is the fact that the expansion of this program is about adding before and after capacity in our division. It's about complementing not replacing programming that's offered by valued community partners like Rainbow Day Nursery, the YMCA, Morrow Avenue, Happiness Is, and others. Some of those programs are offered in our buildings, some are offered on site, and we know that the demand for childcare in our community is so great that we will need the continued support of all of our community partners in addition to what we're building in Louis-Riel. So those who are listening into the meeting who are wondering, what does this entail? What does the division have for a grand plan? I hope that I have brought some clarity to that. We're looking at complementing, not replacing these valued programs. During our leadership team meeting, administrators provided important perspectives for us to consider as the program is expanded. And trustees will recall that Tricia Bailey-Sauvé will be working to achieve the expansion of this before and after programming in the division. The next item relates to the therapeutic learning space, which stems from multi-year strategic plan action 3.5, where the division is creating a flexible short-term learning and therapeutic space for students needing to be away from their home school to support a successful return to a classroom. So this is about students for whom programming is not working in their current school for various reasons, who need time away to have their programming more individualized, tailored, and for them to be able to ultimately return to their home school. Important planning considerations for this program involve shared learning plans in that the home schools will continue to be involved in planning for students and maintaining an active connection with them while they're accessing the therapeutic learning space. Land-based learning will be an important feature of the program, and the Indigenous education team will be supporting learning in that space. We want to ensure that our practice is culturally responsive and that we have embedded clinical supports from psychology, social work, speech language, OT, whichever specialized area is needed to support the growth of students who are enrolled in the specialized program. We want to use project-based and strengths-based design for students learning, and an important connection with the community, that students will not be learning within the four walls of Monterey here, but extending their learning on the land and in community as well. So details of this program were shared with administrators at the May 26th meeting, and they were given time to discuss and ask questions. And of course, you'll recall the appointment of Chris Heidelbreck as divisional principal, vice principal, who will be responsible for leading this initiative. And the end of the meeting was around short snappers that I won't bore you today.
Mr. Nordhead.
What's the age group for this therapeutic?
Mia?
Grades 7 to 12 with potentially some grade 6s, but mostly 7 to 12.
And so what connection to the home school, like is there a time frame that's set, or like
It'll be
go on?
dependent on each student, right? I don't think we want to set a timeline. We want to make sure each student is supported in the way that they need to be. So for some, it might be a hybrid program. They might be attending some of the programming in the therapeutic learning space. They might be able to still stay attached to a club or a team or interest-based course that they're having success with. We want to make sure that is there. For some, they may stay with us a little bit longer in that programming. So that'll be dependent on each.
But teachers in the homeschool are not responsible for sending packages or
No, they're not responsible for sending packages, but they will be involved in conversations around the student, involved in some of the shared planning so they can stay connected in some way. But we do have 2 dedicated teachers that will be part of the planning and teaching here with that space. But we also see these students as our greatest teachers, right? They're going to teach our home schools what can we do to bring them back in a better way. So that's part of the goal there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm certainly wanted to make sure we highlighted and appreciate the talk about the BLAST program, which is an acronym I'm still getting used to, but again, fine work being done there, and this is could very well be a game changer. And this is something that our families and parents have been very concerned about and asking for. There's something that can work with and enhance the daycare situation, and I think we can be the pilot project that the rest of the province can pick up on. So thank everyone who's been involved in that work. I look forward to seeing it roll out. And now we have a school classroom support team meeting, and again we turn over to Corey Kapelik, Director of School and Classroom Supports.
Thank you again. May 27th was our last meeting of the year. And just to remind folks that the school and classroom support team, we meet on staff meeting days, and that consists of the senior leadership team, the Indigenous learning team, the instructional support team, and the clinical services team. February through April this year, we did sort of a different format, and we had folks going out in interdisciplinary teams out to visit some of our school agencies in Renee Delorme Center and Liberals Arts and Technology Center, as well as some of our community partner visits. And these visits were intended to increase our awareness of community partners and our collective understanding of programming and services offered, and build or strengthen relationships that support our goal of better supporting students and families. Those groups, again, as I mentioned, those the 2 internal as well as the Toba Center, Need Center, Healthy Muslim Families, Futures Forward, Sky Center, Saint Amant, Huddle, and the Aurora Newcomer Program. And so during those 3, February, March, and April, we had the opportunity to continually visit. So each member of the team would have visited 3. In the afternoon, we continued by revisiting our work from the beginning of the year, focusing on the multi-year strategic plan. Divisional Vice Principal Marnie Wilson took the group through an analysis of the MYSP implementation feedback using artificial intelligence, with the goals of demonstrating how we use AI to support a complex workplace task, as well as to review the MYSP forms survey submissions, so that we can reflect on the key insights and next steps for next school year. And we will not be meeting in June. So next year again, we'll be starting with our 9 meetings beginning in September.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments on that? None. Move on to policy. We have some policy reviews that have come up. 9.1, update from policy GBD. See, 3rd reading. I believe Assistant Superintendent Anderson will walk us through that.
Yes, so policy GBD received a 2nd reading at the end of April, and was sent out for further review and feedback from the community. The response was limited, which is in line with the overwhelming positive response that we had received prior to that. There was very little in the way of changes necessary to the policies. So what is coming before you this evening is save for 1 closing bracket that was missing from previous version, identical to what you had adopted back in the end of April.
All right, so we have But your hand is up. Wait a minute. So the motion is that policy GBD staff communication reviewed with policy committee receive third reading and finally be adopted. Mover in a second here for this. Trustee Kolachuk, Trustee Nemeth. And I don't think this needs a lot of conversation. Yes, certainly.
Just a comment, it's a shift and a good one and you know, one that we've talked about through first and second reading. Related to the communications piece D, talking about the sending and receiving of communication during regular work hours. And it is I'm grateful to the board for supporting something that recognizes the need for staff to have time to do other things, especially when in education in 2025, there is a lot of pressure and stress and residual angst from COVID and other things, and where our staff are telling us that this downtime or time to focus on other things is necessary to maintaining not only that healthy work-life balance, but just their mental and physical wellness. And so I know it's a conversation that plays out at other boards, and it's an important one, and it should. But I just want to express my gratitude to my colleagues for recognizing the importance of capturing this in policy, because I think putting it in writing is just a tangible way for us as a group to communicate that we recognize this need.
Yes, thank you for that. It's very appropriate. I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The second one is a ratification of amendment. Again, Acting Superintendent Anderson will provide us some context.
Yes, policy ACE relates to the division's commitment to accessibility, and the division is required to have a policy and a plan related to accessibility under the Manitoba legislation. This policy was adopted back in 2019 and has been reviewed once in 2020 and was in need of updating to bring it in line with several legislative changes related to other accessibility standard regulations that have come into effect. The changes that you will see before you have streamlined the policy. It is shorter as a document and references the provincial regulations to a greater degree, as opposed to repeating them in policy. And other changes that are included were provided by the Accessibility Committee that included representatives from various work groups, employee groups in the division, as well as people living with disabilities, both employees and students. So this policy coming before you is one of several. You can see policy ACH is also listed, but not the policy itself, but two specific appendices to the policy. And these are appendices B and C, which are the glossary in English and French. And the changes are to include several terms related to the policy ACE, accessibility. So including additional definitions that will assist staff in implementing and understanding policy ACE. And the goal of providing it in both English and French is to make the vocabulary accessible for both our English program and French immersion schools. The last change that is before you is to policy GCFA, GDFA, and this has to do with criminal record checks for teaching and non-teaching staff. This policy was reviewed by members of the Staff Services Department and really The changes that you see before you are to reflect current practice and to also reflect changes to legislation that occurred when the new commissioner was brought in for teacher professional conduct. There were a number of changes to legislation that compelled changes to our policy to ensure that we were in line with it and not causing confusion. So those are the two policies and two appendices that are before you for consideration for review this evening.
Thank you. So we have the motion that the following list of policies be amended. Policy ACE, commitment to accessibility with edits. ACH Appendix B with edits, ACH Appendix C with edits. Policy GCFA, policy GDFA, criminal record checks, child abuse registry check, teaching and non-teaching staff with edits. I need a mover and a seconder for these, please. Trustee Walker, Trustee Palmquist. Questions or comments on this, what we've heard? Yes.
It's a question for Superintendent Anderson, and this isn't a major concern, and I notice it is covered later in the amendment, but with respect to the commitment for accessibility, the division believes it is essential that Louisville School Division programs, curricula, strategies, management practices support the value embodied in this policy. And it just with all of the capital projects that are such a major part of our agenda, school renovations, new schools, it does refer later on in the policy to infrastructure, to facilities, et cetera. Wondering if it might be considered appropriate for, you know, facilities to be noted in that opening statement in some respect, or otherwise emphasize the physical built space in that executive summary.
I'm not sure I am clear on where you're, was it the second last paragraph of the first section?
Correct,
Of the
yes.
policy that you're
Yeah. It's just the policy is great. I fully support it. We'll vote for it. And this isn't like a must have for me, but it would be nice if it were possible if the policy could specifically note you know, facilities, buildings, public spaces. It's certainly implicitly covered, I think. But just given that there is a list of considerations.
So that would be that the Louisville School Division programs, curricula, instructional strategies, facilities, public spaces, and management.
Yeah, something.
So to add that, I would have no problem if the chair wanted to consider that amendment.
I would have no issue with that, although Trustee Palmquist seconded it, so it was his.
Oh, sorry, I raised my hand to denote interest in this topic, I guess.
Okay, I think it's procedurally, Trustee Nordheim?
Can I just ask a question though?
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, because it's a process in getting everything updated, I'm wondering if it would hamper us if we put facilities in there now, or not hamper us, but we would get called on that, and that we're gonna have a long time until we're able to afford to update everything. I think further down, we're talking about the aspirational idea of facilities. That's my only question is, I don't wanna set us up for something that's in policy and we're not able to make good on that at this point in time because of provincial funding.
No, that's a fair point.
Certainly, Trustee Nordheim, design of public spaces standard regulation does speak to that as facilities are renewed, new
Right.
facilities are designed.
Yeah, so that's all I'm thinking
Yeah.
is, that's kind of, I think what we have to go with. I think it's aspirational that we want all of our facilities to be updated, and I agree with that, but I'm just worried that we'd get caught.
As in we would be immediately in violation of our own policy.
That's what I'm worried about. I don't know if that's true or not, Ryan, but that's what.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I'd be willing to let it go. I'd considered it a symbolic gesture in any case, because I certainly have no doubts at all that we're committed and moving forward in that direction, but no, I think that's well taken. Fair enough.
I'd suggest it's an honorable aspiration, but this is a carefully crafted
Yeah.
we have here, and probably best to accept.
Yeah.
Is everyone else okay with that? So we'll call the question. All those in favor?
But yes. Just saying,
Got the scoreboard behind me here.
it's the one with the 3 letters.
Okay. Thank you. So those are the policies completed. We now move on to correspondence. We have school board correspondence received, school board correspondence sent. We have MSBA correspondence received, all of which we have, none of it has been requested to be brought forward for discussion. I think it can all be accepted into our minutes. And we move on then to the public question period. We have some folks here. Don't have any questions for us today? No. We have some virtual verified folks online today. No hands are coming up.
No hands.
Okay, wonderful. I thank everyone and we'll call this meeting to a close. Now, we will need to reconvene in a few moments to finish our in-camera. But let's all take a break now and then.